Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Tao. Chapter 16. Crawl out of here. Ling Han, don't go too far. Cheng Hao raised his head and said. He could not and would not yield on this matter. Ling Han laughed thickly and said, and here I was afraid you might yield and cause me to have no more reason to kill you. This guy wants to kill me. Cheng Hao's whole body shivered. He looked at Ling Han only to see a harsh expression on his face. He was obviously not joking. He couldn't control the trembling of his body and said, do you want to induce a blood feud between the two great clans? Do you want to become the greatest sinner in the history of the Ling clan? A tiny little Cheng clan, and you think you're worthy of flopping around in front of me? Ling Han said disdainfully, if your Cheng clan dare to make a move, I will eliminate the whole lot of you. Boom. Everyone in the surrounding area erupted with voices. What big words. The Ling and the Cheng were both powerful clans in Grey Cloud Town. Their strength was fairly equal, and should there be a dispute between the two, neither side would win and would only come off worse. As a result, although the two clans both had the desire to get rid of the other and thus gain sole authority over Grey Cloud Town, neither dared to make the first move. Ling Han, this trash, actually said that he would single-handedly eliminate the Cheng clan. Was he joking? However, looking at the fierce look on Ling Han's face at the moment, his whole body exuding an indescribable might, for some reason, it caused everyone in the area to become speechless. They all had the same feeling, and that was the young man in front of them at this moment was no longer the so-called trash they knew. There were even some girls whose gazes had grown bright. How manly, their knees actually felt a little weak. How boastful of you, there isn't need for anyone else, my older brother alone would be able to single-handedly suppress you. Cheng Hao shouted, his whole expression filled with obstinate defiance. In his eyes, Ling Han was only a toy that had been bullied numerous times by him and his older brother, Cheng Xiang. Now that Ling Han had turned the tables on him to suppress him, this was something that he could not accept in any way or manner. Pa. Ling Han gave him another slap, and asked in an awe-inspiring tone, so you really want to die then? If the Cheng clan intended to make any kind of retaliation against him, he would not mind eliminating the Cheng clan using this opportunity. Considering Zhu Hixin's respect towards him, having him take action naturally would only be a small issue. And while Zhu Hixin was no genius in martial arts, he at least had the cultivation of the gushing spring tear. It would be a piece of cake for him to eliminate the Cheng clan. So should the Cheng clan want to bring about their own destruction so desperately, he would not mind using Zhu Hixin to get rid of them. Cheng Hao could not help himself as cold sweat rolled down his face. In front of Ling Han, he felt an incomparable pressure, and also felt the threat of imminent death. This young man in front of him was no longer the Ling Han of the past, whom he had bullied numerous times. He was now a terrifying god of death. Pa. He could not help the weakening of his legs as he knelt on the ground. Faced with the choice between his life and his pride, he would cast away his pride without any second thought. After all, once you die, everything is over. He really knelt down. The whole area was in an uproar. Cheng Hao was the second young master of the Cheng clan, and could to a large degree represent the entire Cheng clan. Someone like that had actually knelt down. Moreover, the one he was kneeling down in front of was a member of the clan which was Cheng clan's enemy. This could practically be engraved on the Cheng clan's plaque of dishonor. So Cheng Hao was actually someone who would bully the weak but tremble before the strong. Why did no one realize his cowardly character in the past? Everyone wanted to know the answer. But after thinking it over, this was quite normal. After all, Cheng Hao had always been in the spotlight as the second young master of the Cheng clan, who would dare oppose him. Thus, of course it would be impossible for anyone to find out that, underneath his overbearing, arrogant exterior, he was actually a big coward. But Ling Han really was too overbearing. He had actually forced the second young master of the Cheng clan to kneel down. Wasn't he afraid of provoking a great war between the two clans? So cool. The numerous girls that were already infatuated and love-struck because of Ling Han's previous actions shrieked loudly. Ling Han, have you done enough? Cheng Hao said with gritted teeth. There was only one thought in his head at this moment, and that was to leave this location, then come charging back with his older brother, regaining his lost pride and avenging the dishonor and insult he had suffered. Crawl out of here, Ling Han said calmly. What? Cheng Hao thought that he had heard wrongly. Pa! Ling Han gave a kick to Cheng Hao's back, forcing him to hold himself up with both hands on the ground. Ling Han, you dare insult me in this way, I want to kill you. Kill you. Cheng Hao was about to go mad. Kneeling down was already the greatest insult he could imagine, but if he also had to actually drop onto the ground like this. And actually crawl out of here. So what if I insult you? Trash. Ling Han said coldly. Haven't the Cheng brothers insulted him enough in the past? The reason why the Cheng brothers dared to act that way was because they were stronger than his predecessor, and the adults definitely could not interfere in this kind of dispute amongst the younger generation, at least as long as there was no death or permanent injury. Otherwise, they would be laughed at by others. You either crawl out of here, or you die here, make your choice, Ling Han said. So domineering, was this really the Ling Han they knew? Everyone was struck dumb and speechless. In the past, they had all laughed at Ling Han for being a piece of trash, but what kind of trash would actually dare to force the second son of the Cheng clan to kneel down and crawl like a dog in public? He was freaking awesome. Cheng Hao was sweating like crazy. He had no desire to become a sinner of the clan, and even more didn't want to be shamed in public. However, facing the possibility of death, his willpower was simply too weak. Very quickly, he moved his hands, starting to crawl on the ground. Ha 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 ha. Everyone around them started laughing. Suddenly it was as if the laughter was contagious, causing even more people to start following their lead and laugh. The second young master of the Cheng clan crawling around like a dog, this was not something that could be seen every day. Cheng Hao's tears gushed out instantly, he gripped his fists tightly, and swore in his heart that he would definitely kill Ling Han. Definitely. He crawled for more than 10 steps, then immediately pushed up from the ground, and rushed out of the martial training court. He wanted to find his older brother, Cheng Xiang, and kill Ling Han. Kill, kill, kill. Pa, pa, pa. Applause rose up and attracted everyone's attention. Everyone fell silent and looked towards the slender, beautiful girl who just clapped her hands. Chen Ziyan stopped clapping, and said, I have to admit, this was a very exciting performance. However, do you think you can move me with something like this? You're deluding yourself, don't think I don't know what your intentions are. Unfortunately, the gap between you and I is far too wide. You can't even compare to my little finger. To be liked by someone like you is a complete insult to myself. You think too highly of yourself. Idiot. Ling Han shook his head. For the sake of his predecessor, he did not want to bother with his foolish girl. With my talent in martial arts, I will definitely be famous in future, and create miracles even though I am a girl. Chen Ziyan said loftily. You do not have to say anything anymore. I know that everything you have done was to attract my interest, but very unfortunately, I will never look at a small character like you. Everything between us has long ended. I don't mind telling you, I've already obtained the invitation to Huyang Academy, and will officially become a disciple of Huyang Academy next year. You, a mere piece of trash, actually dare to like me. You are not qualified, not qualified, not qualified. Fine, she can say everything she wants. Liking her, that was the natural course of events. She was beautiful and extremely gifted in martial arts, so she must definitely be admired. If you say you don't like her, damn, then you must be deliberately saying contrary words to attract her attention. To be narcissistic to this point, she was definitely a weirdo. Even Ling Han was struck speechless. Usually when he's faced with this kind of shameless person, he would directly give a good, solid slap. 9th layer of body refining tier, a bit challenging, but not impossible. Ling Han's eyes grew cold, and he was just about to walk over when his eyes fell upon a beautiful figure walking slowly into the martial training court. Lu Yutong. She was an extraordinarily beautiful woman who would become the focus of everything wherever she went. Very quickly, everyone's attention was attracted by her beautiful figure. Suddenly, everyone put on a stunned expression. She was so beautiful. Chen Ziyan was indeed a beautiful girl, but when compared with this person, she fell short. Moreover, this girl had an indescribably graceful bearing, as if she was a noble princess. In comparison, Chen Ziyan's so-called beauty was overshadowed to the point she looked like a village girl. At this moment, there was only one thought in everyone's heart: who was she? Was she a goddess come down from the heavens? How could her beauty be so cool and elegant? Those who dared to have any thoughts about her felt like they were committing blasphemy. Under everyone's dumbstruck stares, Lu Yutong had already passed Ling Han by and, without a single pause, continued walking forwards. This was natural. If Lu Yutong had actually stopped, they would have been even more shocked. A mere piece of trash, how could he possibly have any relation to this cool and elegant goddess? Chen Ziyan felt great pressure. The other's beauty caused even her to feel her own inferiority in comparison, causing her to go mad with jealousy. The other was not just a little bit more beautiful than her. In all the categories, looks, figure and demeanor, she was completely overwhelmed, so no matter how much she didn't want to admit it, she could only grit her teeth in secret. Lu Yutong stopped in front of Chen Ziyan, and with a wave of her hand, a slap sounded against the other's face. Pa! Crisp, loud and clear. Chen Ziyan was slapped stupid, but she immediately flared up in fury. With a wave of her right hand, a similar slap flew towards Lu Yutong. But what could the 9th layer of body refining tier do against the 9th layer of element gathering tier? Pa! Lu Yutong's hand once again rose and flew down, and another solid slap resounded against Chen Ziyan's face a second time. With these two slaps, Chen Ziyan's beautiful hair was messed up, her beautiful face swollen, and she looked a little poignant, but her eyes were filled with fury and poison, as if she wanted to devour someone. She gave a sharp scream and once again, attacked Lu Yutong. But this was obviously pointless effort. Pa! 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 She was repeatedly slapped, as if she was a doll without any ability of retaliation. Everyone gasped. These two girls seemed to be about the same age, so why was the difference in ability between them so wide? Who on earth was this icy beauty, and why was she, for some reason, slapping Chen Ziyan? What right do you have to be proud? Lu Yutong asked coldly. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Tao. Chapter 17. Cheng Xiang has arrived. You think you're a martial arts genius? Lu Yutong said coldly. I am 17 years old this year just like you, but I am already in the 9th layer of element gathering tier. What about you? Pooh. These words caused everyone to gasp in astonishment. The 9th layer of element gathering tier, what kind of concept was that? Only the strongest of the strong in Grey Cloud Town had this kind of cultivation level. Chen Ziyan was indeed a genius. Those who had achieved the 9th layer of body refining tier at the age of 17 were definitely an uncommon existence in the history of Grey Cloud Town. On average, there would only be 2 or 3 of such geniuses every 100 years, and each one of them demonstrated extraordinary talent in their lifetime, going on to become famous and leave their mark in the history of Rain Country. But when compared with Lu Yutong, Chen Ziyan couldn't even hold a candle to the former. A 17-year-old managed to achieve the 9th layer of element gathering tier, even in the vast territory of Rain Country. How many such geniuses would appear in 100 years? Lu Yutong no longer suppressed her power, and released the majestic aura of a warrior in the 9th layer of element gathering tier. In an instant, everyone in the surrounding area could sense the strength hidden within her body. Chen Ziyan bore the brunt of it as the one closest to Lu Yutong. Underneath this powerful aura, she abruptly lowered her head. She wasn't even qualified to look directly at Lu Yutong. This was unacceptable to the arrogant Chen Ziyan, and as she struggled to raise her head to look directly at her opponent, her eyes were filled with fear, despair and confusion. Why was there suddenly an appearance of someone her own age, but with both beauty and brilliant talent that even she had no choice but to admit her inferiority? Furthermore, why had such a person given her a slap out of the blue? How dare you look down on him? Lu Yutong spoke, turning to point at Ling Han, and once more turned to look at Chen Ziyan. You're completely unqualified. What? She was here to defend Ling Han. Whether it was Chen Ziyan or everyone else, they were all in a state of complete disbelief. This girl with elegant and noble bearing, unparalleled beauty and shocking talent in martial arts was actually acquainted with Trash Ling. Being acquainted with each other was inconceivable enough, and yet she had actually defended Ling Han. How could anyone accept this? Especially the guys in the area, they all felt like they were about to die of jealousy. Chen Ziyan gritted her teeth, her eyes spitting fire. She had now transferred all her fury onto Ling Han. That was because Lu Yutong was too strong, and she dared not have even the slightest thought of revenge. However, Ling Han was a different story. With his cultivation level at the 4th layer of body refining tier, in her eyes, he could be finished off in a single blow. Moreover, everything was because of Ling Han. He had deliberately made fun of her, so she spoke to him in mockery. As a result, she was publicly slapped by Lu Yutong, and had disgraced herself. However, in truth, had she not insulted Ling Han in the first place, he would have long left. Then the subsequent course of events would never have happened. But with her self-centered personality, how could she possibly reflect on her own behavior? So naturally she would push all the fault onto another person's shoulders. She pointed at Ling Han, and spoke shrilly, "In what way am I not qualified? Isn't this guy just a piece of trash? Trash. Have you seen a piece of trash that could break through 2 layers within a single night? And what kind of trash would cause a black-grade alchemist to beg just to be able to follow by his side?" Naturally Lu Yutong did not intend to inform Xuanhuan about any of this, so she only said, "Such a short-sighted woman like yourself naturally cannot see that underneath the dust lies gold, underneath the darkness hides a pearl. You have already missed out on your chance, so there's no point in pointing out his brightness to you." As she spoke, Lu Yutong felt a little irritated. Ling Han had actually admired a woman like this. Of course, she would never admit that she was jealous. Ha 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 ha. Xuanhuan laughed loudly before pointing at Ling Han and said, "He's gold, he's a pearl. What kind of joke are you playing? He's nothing more but a piece of trash, a complete, utter piece of trash. In less than 3 months, he will become someone that all of you would only be able to look up to." Lu Yutong said assuredly. She did not know why Ling Han had kept such a low profile in the past, but now he was obviously going to display his brilliance, dazzling to the point that the sun would look pale in comparison. Hearing these words, everyone sneered. Although Ling Han had truly defeated Cheng Hao, but his actual cultivation level was only the 4th layer of body refining tier, or the 5th layer, at most. Although this kind of cultivation level was not considered trash, it was still very far off from being proclaimed as a genius, not to mention actually becoming someone that everyone would only look up to. Lu Yutong's almond eyes widened. The aura of a warrior of 9th layer of element gathering tier trembled slightly, and suddenly all the taunting laughter came to a complete stop. "Ling Han, how dare you!" At this moment, a furious roar was heard as 2 figures quickly rushed into the martial training court. One of the figures was none other than Cheng Hao. The other figure seemed to be slightly older than him, with a few similarities in their features. This was Cheng Hao's older brother, Cheng Xiang, currently 19 years old, 9th layer of body refining tier. Both were at the 9th layer of body refining tier. One was 17, the other was 19, there was no comparison between their respective natural talent. Of course, a 19-year-old who has achieved the 9th layer of body refining tier would still be able to claim the title of a genius in Grey Cloud Town, although he was not as extraordinary as Xuanhuan. Peng, 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 Cheng Xiang's steps echoed loudly, hinting at his current terrifying state of utter fury. He stopped about 3 meters away from Ling Han, pointed at him, and said, "What despicable means have you used?" Ling Han smiled coldly, and said, "So I won only because I made use of despicable means. Of course, otherwise, how could a piece of trash like you ever defeat my younger brother?" Cheng Xiang spoke loudly. Unlike Ling Han's infamous reputation as a piece of trash, if today's issue was not appropriately handled, the Cheng clan's reputation would definitely be seriously impacted. Thus, whether it was true that Ling Han had made use of despicable means or not, he had to insist that he had done so. Hearing the word, trash, everyone's expressions became very strange. Xuanhuan had just said something similar, and the result was being repeatedly slapped by Lu Yutong. This elite warrior of the 9th layer of element gathering tier is still here, and you actually dare to publicly curse at Ling Han. Isn't this just asking for trouble? With Ling Han's experience, he naturally could tell with a glance what Cheng Xiang's intentions were. He did not reveal them though, and only slowly said, "Oh, then how do I prove that I did not make use of those despicable means you're speaking of? Heng, you used despicable means to bully my younger brother. As an older brother, how can I pretend that I did not see anything? Since you're so brave, then I dare you to spar with me." Cheng Xiang obviously came well prepared. Everyone could not help thinking, how shameless. You are already in the 9th layer of body refining tier, while Ling Han is only in the 4th layer of body refining tier. The difference of 5 layers, how could he compare to you? However, as long as Ling Han was given a harsh beating, it would weaken the degree of embarrassment caused by Cheng Hao's previous actions, and also help to avenge Cheng Hao. This was a very smart move, and could be said to be hitting 2 birds with 1 stone. Ling Han's smile disappeared and he shook his head, saying, "You are in the 9th layer of body refining tier, while I'm only in the 4th layer of body refining tier. Doesn't this seem very unjust? I don't mind if you find someone to take your place in the spa." Cheng Hao laughed loudly. Naturally, he was very familiar with Ling Han's label as trash. With such reputation, no one would befriend him in the whole academy, so where on earth could he find anyone to help him? Furthermore, even if he did find someone to help him, what about it? Cheng Hao was in the 9th layer of body refining tier and was one of the strongest in the academy. What did he have to fear? Everyone's expressions once more became very strange. Ling Han really did have someone in his corner. Furthermore, that someone was an extremely strong warrior of the 9th layer of element gathering tier that could, in one move, instantly kill a person in the 9th layer of body refining tier. Wasn't this just looking for death? Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Tao. Chapter 18. Lone Wolf's Blood. Lu Yutong stepped forward and said, "I will take his place." Cheng Xiang's attention was previously completely focused on Ling Han, so it was only now that he noticed Lu Yutong. Seeing this incredibly stunning icy beauty, he couldn't help but stare. How was it possible that such a beautiful woman existed in this world? Wait. Did she just say she would be taking Ling Han's place in the spa? A powerful feeling of jealousy and anger arose within Cheng Xiang. What right did a piece of trash like Ling Han have to possess such a beautiful woman? This was unjust and completely laughable. He quickly said, "Miss, you must be new here, and must have been deceived by this guy's pretty words. He is the trash from Ling Clan. This is something that everyone in this academy knows very well." A fiery anger immediately flashed in Lu Yutong's beautiful eyes. She could not help getting angered when she heard these people insult Ling Han. What right do these people have to insult him in this way? Don't. Just now it was a woman, so I did not mind you doing my work for me. But now the opponent is a man, and a duel between men should be settled between men, Ling Han said with a shake of his head, one hand placed on Lu Yutong's shoulder. Seeing such a scene, everyone in the area, even the females, felt that they were about to go mad with jealousy. Ling Han actually had such intimate contact with their goddess. What enraged them even further was the fact that Lu Yutong actually did not appear to resist it at all. Lu Yutong frowned slightly. Cheng Xiang was different from Cheng Hao by far. The former was in the 9th layer of body refining tier, and thus his cultivation level exceeded Ling Han's by a whole 5 layers. She knew Ling Han could perform miracles and possessed the ability to bypass the limitations of cultivation levels to challenge those much stronger than him, but the difference between him and his current opponent was really too large this time. In her opinion, the chance of Ling Han winning was close to 0. "Don't worry, you should have more faith in me," Ling Han said with a smile. "Then let's spar," Cheng Xiang said. He did not know how Ling Han had bewitched Lu Yutong, but he believed that once he had publicly defeated Ling Han, this extremely stunning beauty would naturally be able to see Ling Han's true colors. Ling Han once again nodded towards Lu Yutong, and the icy beauty finally stepped back. This little female attendant of his was really quite interesting. Ling Han smiled. Once he turned towards Cheng Xiang though, his expression became cautious. The gap of a whole 5 layers was big, very big. If Lu Yutong suppressed her power to the 4th layer of body refining tier and battled with Cheng Xiang, she would only be able to grit her teeth in defeat. Ling Han dared to accept this challenge because he knew a martial arts technique called Lone Wolf's Blood. With every injury, the user would be able to erupt with power that surpassed his actual cultivation level. The heavier the injury, the stronger the power he erupted with would be. In his past life, Ling Han would only be able to take a large amount of alchemical medicines and pills to heal his injuries, but currently, he had no such healing medicines. But that was okay, because he now possessed an even more powerful secret art. Indestructible Heaven Scroll. Come. Ling Han beckoned with a finger. He was calm. He had already cast away the glory of a warrior of the heaven tier. The current him was only a minor martial artist of the 4th layer of body refining tier. Everything was back to square one. Cheng Xiang naturally would not treat Ling Han seriously. He started to casually circle around Ling Han, a cold smile on his face. He could easily, effortlessly suppress a mere minor character of the 4th layer of body refining tier. Brother, thrash him, Cheng Hao could not help calling out. Presently, his face hurt a lot. Moreover, he had even been forced to kneel and crawl around like a dog in front of everyone, making an embarrassment out of himself. He was naturally filled with furious hatred towards Ling Han. There was one person who shared that feeling, and that was Shun Ziyan. She too hated Ling Han to the bone. Cheng Xiang nodded, and said, "All of you should take a good look. This is what happens to all who dare to defy our Cheng clan." The corners of his lips lifted upwards in a cruel smile, and a powerful punch flew towards Ling Han. Ling Han gave a snort and clenched his fist before similarly flying towards his opponent. What? Seeing such a scene, everyone thought that Ling Han had gone crazy. A head-on power battle between the 4th layer and the 9th layer of body refining tier, this was an extremely stupid move. Previously, wasn't Ling Han very smart? With his fearful ability to foresee attacks, he easily dispersed Cheng Hao's attack's power and thrashed the latter like he was a dog. But now against the much stronger Cheng Xiang, he actually cast away this kind of battle technique. Did he think he would not lose fast enough? At this moment, even Lu Yutong felt she was about to lose faith in Ling Han, because this kind of power battle was the purest, truest display of the strength of cultivation levels and disparity in strength. Only Ling Han was filled with confidence. He of course would not be deliberately looking to be beaten. Come. Peng. The two fists crashed into each other. If the movement was slowed down by 100 times, it could be clearly seen that, underneath the jolt of power, the skin on Ling Han's arm rose and fell like the water's surface from his fist all the way to his shoulder. Following a pa sound, the rupturing of arteries caused his whole arm to instantly become badly mangled. The power gap truly was much too wide. Teng, teng, teng. Ling Han retreated a whole 7 steps before he finally regained his balance. Ha 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 ha. Trash will always be trash. Cheng Xiang laughed coldly. Ever since Ling Han had entered the academy, he had become the target of bullying for him and Cheng Hao. Ling Han thought he could bring about a change in his fate now. In his dreams, Ling Han's face was completely expressionless as the Indestructible Heaven Scroll continued to circulate within his body and the injury of his arm rapidly healed. However, due to the fresh blood covering his arm, his quickly recovering injuries could not be seen. And with his injury, Lone Wolf's blood also started to circulate within his body, causing his power to rise to a new level. 5th layer of body refining tier. Ling Han gave a shout and once again took the initiative, rushing towards Cheng Xiang. It's no use, Ling trash, you will be a piece of trash your whole life. Cheng Xiang laughed loudly and his fist flew towards Ling Han once again. Peng. The 5th layer of body refining tier would still be vulnerable against the 9th layer of body refining tier, so once again, Ling Han was forced to retreat, spilling fresh blood. The right arm that had just healed became badly mangled once again. Cheng Xiang looked a little surprised, because he sensed that his opponent's power had increased by a large margin compared to the previous attack, although he was still much weaker than himself. Ling Han simultaneously circulated Indestructible Heaven Scroll and stimulated Lone Wolf's blood. His eyes shone like a battle wolf's, filled with killing intent. 6th layer of body refining tier. Injury upon injury, Ling Han's power once again increased. He roared and once again threw himself at Cheng Xiang. Cheng Xiang's strength was extraordinary, but underneath Ling Han's stare, he actually felt a little frightened. He immediately grew angered. This was a piece of trash. For him to actually feel or even a bit of dread towards a piece of trash, it was completely laughable. He wanted to defeat Ling Han in one attack and injure him heavily, so that the latter wouldn't be able to get up again. Peng, 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 peng. The two fighters continuously attacked each other. Naturally, Ling Han was at the obvious disadvantage and, with every encounter, his opponent would cause him to suffer heavy injuries. And yet, he would immediately regain his battle spirit each time and retaliate. His determination was unbelievable. Moreover, Ling Han's attacks were becoming fiercer and stronger, and slowly, he was actually able to fight on even footing with Cheng Xiang. 7th layer of body refining tier. Cheng Xiang was very clear on the fact that Ling Han's power had shockingly risen to the level of 7th layer of body refining tier. Thankfully though, after increasing to such a degree, Ling Han's power did not increase any further. Otherwise, Cheng Xiang would truly start to feel fear. It couldn't be helped. After all, the lone wolf's blood also had its limits. It could only help Ling Han increase his power by 3 layers. However, the 7th layer of body refining tier against the 9th layer of body refining tier, the gap in power had shrunk to only 2 layers difference. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Tao. Chapter 19. Trampled beneath my feet. Ling Han was now completely covered in blood. His temporary increase in power to the 7th layer of body refining tier was obtained through sustaining serious injuries. He was now like an injured lone wolf. The more he was injured, the more he refused to surrender. At first, it was as if the crowd was there just to watch a free show. But when they saw Ling Han being repeatedly injured yet continue to retaliate, their feelings, for some reason, were affected by his performance. Even if Ling Han was a piece of trash, he was a piece of trash that deserved their respect. What kind of person could have such determination and unyielding will? To be unyielding even as his blood spilled, to be dauntless facing any and all setbacks. Before they knew it, everyone's thoughts started to lean towards Ling Han, secretly hoping that he would emerge victorious. In the world of martial artists, the weak did not deserve to be pitied, but an unyielding warrior would be able to gain respect. Ling Han used his blood and strong will to obtain something that his predecessor had longed for the most. Respect. This was also the reason why Ling Han had stubbornly decided to fight this battle, and even chosen such a stupid method, a head-on clash. Of course, only he was aware that his current condition was not as horrible as everyone was thinking. Indestructible Heaven Scroll was circulating within his body and continuously healing his injuries, so they looked much worse than they in fact were. However, even if they already somewhat recovered by now, the injuries he suffered were in no way faked. He was in agonizing pain, as if a fire was slowly burning up his spirit, but it was also this pain that allowed him to erupt with power that far exceeded his actual cultivation level. He had to continuously take return origin pills, battle and keep up the continuous circulation of Indestructible Heaven Scroll. All this led to too large a depletion of his origin power. Ling Han was repeatedly forced to retreat, but he would keep on charging back into battle. As his fresh blood splattered, his indomitable willpower had affected a large part of the surrounding crowd. Some of the girls had even started shedding tears, asking Ling Han to stop fighting. Why won't you fall? The longer Cheng Xiang fought, the more flustered he became. How could Ling Han be so determined? Why was it that, no matter how much he was wounded, he refused to fall? This fight put a great pressure on Cheng Xiang. The power of the 7th layer of body refining tier was enough to be a threat to him, and with the repeated confrontations between them, his internal organs were also boiling over, causing him extreme discomfort. He roared and attacked with both his fists. He had finally used a martial arts skill, wanting to take down Ling Han as fast as possible. It was one of Cheng Clan's special skills, Expert Armed Fist. Double peaks piercing the ear. Note. Alternate translation is twin peaks piercing passing through the ears. For obvious reasons, that is not the appropriate one here, but I thought it would be interesting to share that. It's likely a pun on the part of the author. A martial artist that uses martial arts skills and a martial artist that does not are two completely different levels of power. Just like cultivation techniques, martial arts skills could also be categorized into heaven, earth, black and yellow grades respectively. A good yellow grade martial arts skill can roughly double the user's power. Every major grade was further divided into 3 minor levels, high, medium, and low. For example, a yellow grade low-level martial arts skill would increase the user's power by around 30%. A medium level one would be able to raise the user's power by around 40 to 60%, while a high-level skill would increase the user's power around 70 to 100%. The Expert Armed Fist was a yellow grade medium-level martial arts skill. It could increase the user's power by around 50%, and the last 3 secret moves could increase the user's power by up to 60%. Ling Han knew countless martial arts skills, even the rarely seen heaven-grade high-level martial arts skills. He knew 7 of them, and each could increase the user's power by 10 times. However, due to the limitations of his current power level, he had no way to use these skills. It was not just heaven-grade skills that he couldn't use. Even earth-grade or black-grade skills were also out of the question for him due to his current limited cultivation. So, he could only use yellow-grade martial arts skills. To use black-grade martial arts skills, the user had to at least have the cultivation level of Gushing Spring tier. He tightened both fists, and moved into an attacking stance. High-level yellow-grade martial arts skill, Dashing Panther Fist. Peng! A loud noise was heard, and the 2 fighters had already exchanged their attacks. Their speed was extremely fast. Aside from Lu Yutong, only a few of the students who happened to have the cultivation of the 9th layer of body refining tier could see it clearly. Meanwhile, the majority of the crowd could only see that, after this confrontation, Cheng Xiang's body somehow flew outwards. Everyone in the area was struck speechless as they sharply breathed in. Cheng Xiang had actually flown out due to the force behind Ling Han's attack. What kind of unfathomable event was this? Meanwhile, even though Ling Han's body was entirely covered in fresh blood, he had only taken a few steps backward. What a grand reversal of the situation. What was going on? Cheng Xiang had had the upper hand all this while, so why was it that he was actually horribly defeated once he used a martial arts skill? But no matter how far their thoughts traveled, none of them would be able to guess that Ling Han had just used a high-level yellow-grade martial arts skill. How could that be possible? Even the 2 great clans of Grey Cloud Town only possessed medium-level yellow-grade martial arts skills. If an ordinary person managed to learn a low-level yellow-grade martial arts skill, he'd already die happy. Only Lu Yutong's beautiful eyes flashed with understanding. She was the only person who clearly knew that 3 in mysterious arts Ling Han taught her was a heaven-grade cultivation technique. Thus, what would be strange about Ling Han knowing a high-level yellow-grade martial arts skill? Cheng Xiang moaned, wanting to get back up. However, the power behind Ling Han's attack was really terrifying. Even just moving caused him to continuously throw up blood. Just now, when they repeatedly exchanged their attacks, Cheng Xiang's internal organs had already suffered from huge tremors, and the one attack just moments ago had immediately caused all the damage he had already sustained to blow up. This was a deciding attack that transformed quantity into quality. No, this isn't possible. Cheng Hao's expression was one of utter disbelief. His older brother was an elite of the 9th layer of body refining tier. How could he lose to a piece of trash? This was definitely not real. Ling Han walked towards Cheng Xiang. With every step, the injuries he had suffered were quickly healing. Once he was right in front of Cheng Xiang, all the injuries were fully healed, a testament to the great power of Indestructible Heaven Scroll. I've lost. With everyone looking at him, there was no way for Cheng Xiang to deny the fact that he had lost. He glared ferociously at Ling Han, his face filled with denial. He could not understand how Ling Han had defeated him. Ling Han slowly raised his leg, moving it above Cheng Xiang. What are you planning to do? Cheng Xiang could not help revealing a fearful expression. Was Ling Han planning to step on his face? Don't go too far. Too far. Ling Han snorted, 1 foot already firmly placed on Cheng Xiang's face. As a cultivator of the 9th layer of body refining tier, fighting with me, it isn't considered too far. The first thing your younger brother told me was to get lost, and the first thing you did was to accuse me of using despicable means. Isn't that considered too far? So you're the only ones allowed to do as you like. There is no such logic on this world. Since your skills are inferior, you should speak less rubbish. He put more strength into his foot and Cheng Xiang immediately let out a pained groan. However, what he felt more was shame. He had actually been trampled underneath someone's foot. Furthermore, this person was the publicly acknowledged trash of the academy. Of course, after today, Ling Han would definitely be able to clear his name as a piece of trash, but this all came at the price of stepping on Cheng Xiang's face. This was even more unacceptable to Cheng Xiang. People in the surrounding area too were lost for words. Before this, they had only hoped that Ling Han would emerge victorious, but who amongst them had truly believed that Ling Han would win? They could not help recalling Lu Yutong's words. In less than 3 months, Ling Han would become an existence that all of them could only look up to. Perhaps 3 months might not even be necessary. Presently, there was already quite a number of them looking up to him. Ling Han, you will definitely regret this, Cheng Xiang said in a furious, poisonous voice. To actually be trampled beneath the foot of a piece of trash, this was a shame that he would never be able to clear from his reputation. Is that so? Ling Han smiled faintly. This kind of threat was completely meaningless on him. Beg for mercy, he said. If your attitude is sincere enough, I will spare you. Otherwise, you may have to lie down here for quite a long time. You, Cheng Xiang felt as if he was about to explode. Ling Han actually wanted him to beg for mercy in front of all these people. Alchemy Emperor of the Divine Tao. Chapter 20, Pill Concoction. If you're not going to beg for mercy, then just continue to lie down there. Lying down is nothing too tiring, anyway. Ling Han spoke calmly. He has always been the kind of person to return the kindness of others tenfold. However, he was also the type that, if offended, would return it back by 10 times as well. Since Cheng Xiang and his brother wanted to bully him, then he would trample all over them, making them into complete fools. Lying down isn't tiring. Lying down indeed was not tiring, but if there was a foot stepping on your face, then the issue was no longer about whether it was tiring or not. Cheng Xiang gritted his teeth tightly to the point that even his gums started bleeding. Ka ka ka, the grinding of his teeth could clearly be heard. If he could, he really wanted to tear Ling Han into a million pieces, but for now, he could only lower his prideful head and say, I'm sorry, please, spare me. You're speaking too softly, I can't hear you, Ling Han said calmly. I'm sorry, please spare me, Cheng Xiang cried out loudly. As these words left his mouth, he felt as if his entire person was about to fall apart. All his pride, dignity and self-esteem as the eldest young master of the Cheng clan had all dispersed like the popping of a bubble along with this plea for mercy. Be more sensible in future, there are some people that you can't afford to offend. Ling Han said, taking back his leg. You should feel fortunate that I'm in a generous mood now. This was considered generous. Everyone was lost for words. Cheng Xiang was not Cheng Hao, he was the eldest young master of the Cheng clan. To shame him in such a public setting was the same as slapping the whole Cheng clan. This would definitely not be settled peacefully. There would definitely arise a fierce battle between the Cheng and the Ling clans, it might even become a blood feud between the two clans. It would become complete chaos. Chen Ziyan looked on, her white teeth biting fiercely on her red lips. Her current feelings were indescribably complex. They were both in the 9th layer of body refining tier, but there was a large gap between their individual ability. For example, she too had defeated many experienced martial artists in the 9th layer of body refining tier, so even if Ling Han was able to defeat Cheng Xiang, that did not mean that he could defeat her. But the problem was, what was Ling Han's current cultivation level? When this guy too rose up to the 9th layer of body refining tier, who amongst those of the whole body refining tier would be able to fight with him on an equal footing? To be invincible amongst those of the same tier, that was the quality of a ruler. No, she definitely did not have any regrets. This was a piece of trash that she had already rejected a few years ago. A piece of trash that could only look up to her throughout his whole life. Ling Han walked out of the martial training court, Lu Yutong by his side as per usual. The two strolled around the academy for a while. After that, they sat down beneath a large tree. Leaning against the tree trunk, neither of them spoke. After a while, Lu Yutong finally couldn't bear it anymore and said, I never thought that you had such poor eyes, to actually like that kind of shallow, self-centered girl. Ling Han couldn't hold back his hearty laughter. He turned towards her and said, my little attendant girl, are you jealous? Who'd be jealous? A red blush rose up on Lu Yutong's beautiful face, making her even more beautiful. Don't delude yourself. Hey, is that any way to speak to your master? Ling Han laughed. Teasing this little attendant girl of his was really quite interesting sometimes. Lu Yutong rolled her eyes, but very quickly changed the topic, and said, do you plan to continue to stay in Grey Cloud Town? This place really was too small to fit the dragon that Ling Han was. Ling Han laughed and said, I'll go take a look at Huyang Academy after a while. Father hopes that I can go there to step on the faces of the so-called geniuses there. Lu Yutong was struck speechless, before saying, you can't defeat even me now, and you actually want to go to step all over all the geniuses of Huyang Academy. You should be aware that I am not the strongest fighter in Huyang Academy. You'll see when we get there. Ling Han no longer spoke any grand words. Only he himself was aware of the great, terrifying potential that he possessed. When the sun had set, the two returned to the Ling clan residence. You little brat. Just as they were entering the main hall, they saw Ling Dongxing striding towards them, his expression extremely grim. At first, Ling Han thought that his skipping class today was discovered by his father. Just when he was about to say something, Ling Dongxing had already rushed to him and embraced him tightly before laughing heartily and saying, you thrashed the two brats from the Cheng clan, yet you didn't immediately return to inform your old man and let me be happy too. Ling Han released the breath he was holding before he said, then, father, how did you find out? This is no small matter, how could I not find out about it after such a long while? Ling Dongxing stopped his hearty laughter, regained his serious expression and said, Hannah, you really show much promise. The 4th layer of body refining tier actually defeated the 9th layer of body refining tier. However, this is much too shocking. I'm worried that some people would spare no expense just to eliminate you. Ling Han nodded. Most people's attitudes towards geniuses would be filled with admiration and respect, but he no longer belonged to the level of geniuses. Rather, he was more like a freak, to an inconceivable extent at that. I've released information saying that you're actually in the 7th layer of body refining tier. You had just deliberately kept a low profile in the past, Ling Dongxing continued. This kind of explanation was actually full of gaps. After all, keeping a low profile and being trash were two different matters. But when compared with the event when a person only in the 4th layer of body refining tier defeated the 9th layer of the body refining tier, wouldn't this explanation be easier to accept for the public? Moreover, the strength Ling Han displayed in the last stages of the fight was the 7th layer of the body refining tier, so this kind of explanation would be easier to believe. You don't have to go to the academy tomorrow to avoid others from seeing any discrepancies, Ling Dongxing said. Anyone of the element gathering tier would be able to tell with one look what Ling Han's actual cultivation level was. If that happened, the lie would immediately be exposed. This was exactly what Ling Han wanted. However, the problem now was that he could not only not go the academy, he couldn't even leave the clan residence. Because he had played too much today, there would definitely be a lot of interested parties in Grey Cloud Town. There may even be some who would watch out for his appearance from nearby the Ling clan residence. There was only one solution, and that was to have his actual cultivation level really reach the 7th layer of body refining tier. In this way, the lie would become the truth. Since he couldn't leave the residence anyways, Ling Han decided to place his full focus on cultivating. Ling Dongxing was in full support of this, and under Ling Han's request, he provided him with a large amount of monetary funds. Meanwhile, Ling Han had Lu Yutong go purchase medicinal ingredients as he would be personally concocting an alchemical pill. The alchemical pill that Ling Han wanted to concoct was named the Little Cloud and Water Pill. Taking this pill would greatly increase the cultivation speed of a martial artist in body refining tier. While this pill could be bought, the medicinal effects were too poor. Ling Han had taken one, and it was at most only half as good as the one he concocted. You can do a lot of things if you have enough money. Lu Yutong very quickly returned with the medicinal ingredients Ling Han had requested, also bringing with her an alchemy furnace. It's a bit challenging for a martial artist at 4th layer of body refining tier to concoct pills, Ling Han murmured. Ordinarily, one could only start concocting pills once they reached the 7th layer of body refining tier, at least. Otherwise, if there was not enough origin power to support the concocting process, one would not be able to continue concocting when they reach the advanced stage of the process. Thus, the result would naturally be failure. Looks like I have to simultaneously take return origin pills and concoct the pill. He skillfully separated the various ingredients, his hands moving at such an extremely fast pace that Lu Yutong, who had been standing at the side, felt that her eyes were blurring. Now, she finally believed that Ling Han knew how to concoct pills and was not just knowledgeable in the theory of alchemy. Was there anything this guy didn't know? Ling Han threw several medicinal ingredients into the furnace. However, he did not dump everything inside. He had only threw about 1/3 of the ingredients on hand, then his right hand jolted, he gave a snort, and suddenly a flame appeared on his extended palm. Ignition. This was the basic ability every alchemist should have. It was also why every alchemist needed to have a fire alignment spirit base.